The best movies of the 21st century. Copyright Universal Pictures. Join us on a captivating cinematic journey through the finest films of our time. From thought-provoking dramas to heartwarming tales, this selection promises to immerse you in the pinnacle of storytelling. Let's celebrate the filmmakers who have shaped the cultural landscape and indulge in the magic of 21st century cinema. Asteroid City 2023. Following a writer on his world-famous fictional play about a grieving father who travels with his tech-obsessed family to small rural Asteroid City to compete in a junior stargazing event, only to have his world view disrupted forever. Hitman 2023. A professor moonlighting as a hitman of sorts for his city police department descends into dangerous, dubious territory when he finds himself attracted to a woman who enlists his services. Silver Linings Playbook 2012. After a stint in a mental institution, former teacher Pat Solitano moves back in with his parents and tries to reconcile with his ex-wife. Things get more challenging when Pat meets Tiffany, a mysterious girl with problems of her own. The Big Sick 2017. Pakistan-born comedian Kumail Nanjiani and grad student Emily Gardner fall in love but struggle as their cultures clash. When Emily contracts a mysterious illness, Kumail finds himself forced to face her feisty parents, his family's expectations, and his true feelings. Call Me by Your Name 2017. In 1980s Italy, romance blossoms between a 17-year-old student and the older man hired as his father's research assistant. Civil War 2024. In the near future, a team of journalists travel across the United States during a rapidly escalating civil war that has engulfed the entire nation. Suzum 2022. A modern action-adventure road story where a 17-year-old girl named Suzum helps a mysterious young man close doors from the other side that are releasing disasters all over in Japan. TWR. Set in the international world of Western classical music, the film centers on Lydia Tarr, widely considered one of the greatest living composer-conductors and the very first female director of a major German orchestra. Challengers. Follows three players who knew each other when they were teenagers as they compete in a tennis tournament to be the world-famous Grand Slam winner and reignite old rivalries on and off the court. No Country for Old Men. Violence and mayhem ensue after a hunter stumbles upon a drug deal gone wrong and more than $2 million in cash near the Rio Grande. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. The origin story of renegade warrior Furiosa before her encounter and team-up with Mad Max. Memories of Murder. In a small Korean province in 1986, two detectives struggle with the case of multiple young women being found raped and murdered by an unknown culprit. Nope. The residents of a lonely gulch in inland California bear witness to an uncanny and chilling discovery. Joker, the rise of Arthur Fleck. From aspiring stand-up comedian and pariah to Gotham's clown prince and leader of the revolution. The Worst Person in the World. The chronicles of 4 years in the life of Julie, a young woman who navigates the troubled waters of her love life and struggles to find her career path, leading her to take a realistic look at who she really is. Punch-drunk love. Socially frustrated Barry Egan calls a phone sex line to curb his loneliness. Little does he know it will land him in deep trouble and will jeopardize his burgeoning romance with the mysterious Lena. When Evil Lurks. In a remote village, two brothers find a demon-infected man just about to give birth to evil itself. They decide to get rid of the body, only to end up unintentionally spreading chaos. The Power of the Dog. Charismatic rancher Phil Burbank inspires fear and awe in those around him. When his brother brings home a new wife and her son, Phil torments them until he finds himself exposed. Licorice Pizza. The story of Alana Kane and Gary Valentine growing up, running around and going through the treacherous navigation of first love in the San Fernando Valley, 1973. Dune. A noble family becomes embroiled in a war for control over the galaxy's most valuable asset while its heir becomes troubled by visions of a dark future. Inside, a musical comedy special shot and performed by Bo Burnham, alone, over the course of a very unusual year. The Irishman, an illustration of Frank Sheeran's life, From WW to veteran to hitman for the Bufalino crime family and his alleged assassination of his close friend Jimmy Hoffa. About time. At the age of 21, Tim discovers he can travel in time and change what happens and has happened in his own life. His decision to make his world a better place by getting a girlfriend turns out not to be as easy as you might think. Baby driver. After being coerced into working for a crime boss, a young getaway driver finds himself taking part in a heist doomed to fail. Django Unchained. With the help of a German bounty hunter, a freed slave sets out to rescue his wife from a brutal plantation owner in Mississippi. Wall-E. In the distant future, a small waste-collecting robot inadvertently embarks on a space journey that will ultimately decide the fate of mankind. Blade Runner 2049. Young Blade Runner K's discovery of a long-buried secret leads him to track down former Blade Runner Rick Deckard, who's been missing for 30 years. Spotlight. The true story of how the Boston Globe uncovered the massive scandal of child molestation and cover-up within the local Catholic archdiocese, shaking the entire Catholic Church to its core. Rama, a year in the life of a middle-class family made in Mexico City in the early 1970s. V for Vendetta. In a future British dystopian society, a shadowy freedom fighter, known only by the alias of V, plots to overthrow the tyrannical government with the help of a young woman. Portrait of a Lady on Fire. On an isolated island in Brittany at the end of the 18th century, a female painter is obliged to paint a wedding portrait of a young woman. The Lives of Others. In 1980 for East Berlin, an agent of the secret police conducting surveillance on a writer and his lover finds himself becoming increasingly absorbed by their lives. 3 Idiots. Two friends are searching for their long-lost companion. They revisit their college days and recall the memories of their friend who inspired them to think differently, even as the rest of the world called them idiots. Memento. A man with short-term memory loss attempts to track down his wife's murderer. The Invisible Guest. A successful entrepreneur accused of murder and a witness preparation expert have less than 3 hours to come up with an impregnable defense. Avengers. Infinity War. The Avengers and their allies must be willing to sacrifice all in an attempt to defeat the powerful Thanos before his blitz of devastation and ruin puts an end to the universe. Get Out. A young African-American visits his white girlfriend's parents for the weekend, where his simmering uneasiness about their reception of him eventually reaches a boiling point. Inception. A thief who steals corporate secrets through the use of dream-sharing technology is given the inverse task of planting an idea into the mind of a CEO, but his tragic past may doom the project and his team to disaster. A Separation. A married couple are faced with a difficult decision to improve the life of their child by moving to another country or to stay in Iran and look after a deteriorating parent who has Alzheimer's disease. Argo. Acting under the cover of a Hollywood producer scouting a location for a science fiction film, a CIA agent launches a dangerous operation to rescue 6 Americans in Tehran during the U.S. hostage crisis in Iran in 1979. Oppenheimer. The story of American scientist J. Robert Oppenheimer and his role in the development of the atomic bomb. RRR. A fictitious story about 2 legendary revolutionaries and their journey away from home before they started fighting for their country in the 1920s. Up. 78-year-old Carl Fredrickson travels to Paradise Falls in his house equipped with balloons, inadvertently taking a young stowaway. Top Gun. Maverick. After 30 years, Maverick is still pushing the envelope as a top naval aviator, but must confront ghosts of his past when he leads top GUN's elite graduates on a mission that demands the ultimate sacrifice from those chosen to fly it.